Welcome to another deep dive. This time we're hitting the road for a look at some seriously creepy highway horror stories. You know the kind, the ones that make you think twice about taking that late night drive.
Yeah, those stories that make you check the back seat even when you know you're alone.
Exactly. And the source for this deep dive is a YouTube video called 3 Disturbing True Highway Horror Stories, V2. Just the title alone is enough to give you chills.
Definitely sets the mood, and it plays on that universal fear, being alone on the open road, especially at night. It's like anything could happen out there.
No kidding. So are you ready to dive into the first story?
Yeah, hit me with it.
All right, so picture this. A young guy meets a girl named Kaylee at church. Seems innocent enough, right?
So far, so good. No red flags yet.
Okay, so they start dating, everything's normal, until one night they're driving home, and Kaylee just starts acting really strange.
Strange how?
Like full-on creepy strange. She starts speaking in tongues, her eyes roll back in her head, and her head starts vibrating. It's like something out of The Exorcist.
Oh, wow. That escalated quickly. The storyteller really knows how to set the scene, though. The church, the budding romance, then bam, total horror.
Right, it's that contrast that makes it even creepier. You think you're safe, you think you know someone, and then they turn into something else.
It's like that fear of the familiar becoming the unfamiliar. It's deeply unsettling.
And then to make matters worse, she vanishes, just poof, gone. Disappears into the woods, leaving the guy alone and terrified.
That's the worst part. No explanation, no closure, just pure mystery. It makes you wonder who Kaylee really was and what happened to her. Did she run off? Or was it something more sinister?
Makes you wonder if anyone ever saw her again.
Yeah, it's like a horror movie that just ends abruptly, leaving you with that feeling of dread and unanswered questions.
Okay, well, speaking of vulnerable situations on the road, the next story takes us to the Nevada desert. Wide open spaces, intense heat, and a young man on a solo road trip.
Talk about isolation. The desert can be a pretty unforgiving place.
And as luck would have it, this guy finds himself caught in a massive thunderstorm.
Oof, that's not good. Especially if you're alone out there.
Exactly. And to make matters even worse, his windshield wipers break. Now he's stuck in the middle of nowhere in a raging storm with no way to see clearly.
That's a recipe for anxiety right there. The isolation, the storm, the inability to see, it's all very claustrophobic.
Yeah, it's like the perfect setup for something terrifying to happen. And sure enough, he starts seeing these lights approaching in the distance.
Oh man, that's spooky. Lights in the distance in the middle of nowhere. It's never a good sign.
At first he thinks it might be help. Maybe someone saw him stranded. But as the lights get closer, he realizes they're flashlights. And they're being held by 3 figures who are slowly circling his car.
Oh no! Flashlights in a car surrounded. That's right out of a nightmare.
I know, right? And the scariest part is, he has no idea who these people are or what they want. They're just these shadowy figures lurking in the storm.
The storyteller does a great job of keeping them mysterious. We don't know their faces, their motives, anything. That unknown element is what makes it truly terrifying.
And then to make matters even worse, one of the figures fires a gunshot into the air.
Seriously? Oh man, I can't even imagine the fear he must have felt. Alone, trapped, and now facing a potential threat. That's the kind of scenario that makes you want to lock your doors and never leave the house again.
But then, just as suddenly as they appeared, the figures vanish. The police arrive and find no trace of them. No footprints, no tire tracks, nothing. It's like they were never there.
That disappearance adds another layer of mystery to the story. Were they real? Or were they a figment of his imagination brought on by the stress and isolation of the situation? It's a question that lingers long after the story ends.
So now we're 2 for 2 on creepy highway encounters. And it looks like our final story is going to up the ante in terms of weirdness.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What have we got?
This one's about 2 friends on a road trip from Florida to New Jersey. They're driving through this small town, and everything seems off from the start.
Off in what way?
Well, it's like the town is deserted, there are no people on the streets, businesses are boarded up, it's like they've stumbled into a ghost town. But at the same time, there are these subtle signs of life. Like lights on in some of the houses, cars parked in driveways. It's just all very eerie and unsettling.
Like a town stuck in limbo. Not quite alive, not quite dead. That's creepy.
Right. And then things get even weirder. They stop at a convenience store and meet the cashier. A few miles down the road, they stop at another convenience store, and who do they see? The same exact cashier.
Whoa, wait a minute. The same cashier? Like identical?
Identical. Same clothes, same hairstyle, same everything. They even mention a specific birthmark on her arm. It's like they've encountered a doppelganger.
Doppelgangers. Okay, now this is getting really strange. It's like they've entered the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, and it doesn't stop there. They stop at a gas station that's completely deserted. They go inside, buy some snacks, and when they come back out, the gas station is suddenly packed with people.
Hold on, it went from empty to packed of people in like minutes.
Yep, and everyone is staring at them like they're from another planet. They get this overwhelming feeling that they don't belong, like they've stumbled into something they shouldn't have seen.
That's so creepy. That feeling of being watched, of not belonging, it's primal. Like you've accidentally crossed over into a world you're not supposed to know about.
And just when you think it can't get any weirder, they get back on the road and see the same minivan with a cracked windshield pass them. Twice.
The same minivan, like they're driving in a loop or something.
Nope, they're driving down a straight road.
Yeah.
And the minivan passes them, go in the opposite direction both times. It just doesn't make sense.
Okay, so I've got deserted towns, doppelgangers, sudden crowds, and now impossible vehicle sightings. What else could possibly happen?
Well, they eventually make it out of the town and continue on their road trip. But later, they realize they've lost an hour. They have no memory of what happened during that time. It's just gone.
Missing time. Seriously. Okay, now this is definitely venturing into the paranormal.
Yeah, it's like they encountered some kind of time warp or dimensional rift. They left that town with more questions than answers and a whole lot of unsettling memories. They said they had this lingering bad vibe, like something wasn't right about that place.
Yeah, and they never went back.
Nope. They said they never wanted to go anywhere near that town again.
I can't say I blame them.
Yeah, after that experience, I think I'd avoid that route too.
It really makes you wonder, what if those kinds of towns, you know, those eerie, almost abandoned places, what if they exist all over the place, just hidden in plain sight?
That's a creepy thought. Like little pockets of strangeness tucked away in the corners of the map.
And you never know when you might stumble into one, like those friends on their road trip. They had no idea what they were getting into.
Speaking of not knowing what you're getting into, let's talk about the phenomenon of doppelgangers for a second. Because that encounter in the convenience store, that really freaked me out.
Yeah, doppelgangers are definitely one of those things that tap into our deepest fears. The idea that there's another you out there, walking around, living their life. It's both fascinating and terrifying.
It's like a glitch in the Matrix, or a portal to another dimension.
And the fact that they saw the same cashier twice, with the same clothes, the same birthmark, it's like they were being messed with, like something was deliberately trying to disorient them.
Or maybe it was a warning, like turn back now, you're not supposed to be here.
Ooh, I like that. A warning from the other side. It adds another layer of creepiness to the story.
And then there's the missing time. An hour just vanishes, poof, gone. It's like they stepped into a time warp or something.
Missing time is one of those classic paranormal tropes, and it's always unsettling because it suggests that there are forces at work that we can't see, can't control, forces that can manipulate time and space.
Makes you wonder what happened during that missing hour. What did they see? What did they experience?
And will they ever remember? Or will that hour remain a blank spot in their memory forever?
That's the scary part, not knowing. And the possibility that whatever happened during that missing hour might still be affecting them in ways they don't even realize.
It's like a seed of doubt has been planted in their minds, and it's slowly growing, twisting their perceptions of reality.
So we've got vanishing hitchhikers, flashlight men in the desert, doppelgangers, missing time, and towns that seem to exist outside the normal laws of physics. It's like we're piecing together a map of the strange and unusual.
And the map keeps getting bigger and stranger the more we explore it, but that's the fun part, isn't it? Delving into the unknown, challenging our assumptions about the world.
It's definitely thought-provoking. It makes you wonder, are these just isolated incidents? Or are they connected somehow? Are we just scratching the surface of something much bigger, much weirder?
That's the million-dollar question. And I don't think there's an easy answer. But one thing's for sure. These stories remind us that the world is a much stranger and more mysterious place than we often give it credit for.
And that maybe, just maybe, there are things out there lurking in the shadows, just waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves.
Or maybe we're the ones who are revealing ourselves to them. By venturing out into the unknown, by seeking out these stories, by acknowledging that there are things we don't understand.
Okay, now you're really freaking me out. But I love it.
That's the goal, isn't it? To make you think, to make you question, to make you look at the world a little differently.
Well, mission accomplished. I'm definitely going to be looking over my shoulder a little more often from now on.
Me too. And who knows, maybe we'll encounter a few mysteries of our own along the way. So where do we go from here? We've heard these stories, we've felt that chill. What's the takeaway?
I think for me, it's the reminder that there's still so much we don't know about the world. And maybe some things are better left unknown.
Yeah, like opening a door you can't close. Curiosity is great, but sometimes it can lead you down a path you might regret.
Right. It's like that saying, be careful what you wish for, you might just get it. These stories, they make you realize that reality might be a lot more fragile, a lot more porous than we like to think.
Exactly. And that what we perceive as normal is really just a thin layer covering something much vaster, much stranger.
Like we're just scratching the surface. And underneath, there are these layers upon layers of mysteries and possibilities.
And sometimes those layers bleed through in the form of these strange encounters, these glitches in the matrix.
It's almost like the universe is trying to tell us something. Like, hey, pay attention. There's more to this than you realize.
But what that something is, well, that's the question, isn't it? Maybe it's a warning. Maybe it's an invitation. Maybe it's just a glimpse behind the curtain, a reminder that we're not as in control as we think we are.
And that's both terrifying and exciting, isn't it? The idea that there's still so much out there to explore, to discover, even if some of those discoveries might challenge everything we thought we knew.
It's a humbling thought, and it makes you realize that our place in the universe, it's a lot smaller, a lot more precarious than we often realize.
But hey, maybe that's the beauty of it. The mystery, the uncertainty, the possibility that anything could happen. It keeps things interesting, right?
Definitely keeps things interesting, and maybe a little spooky too.
Well, on that note, I think we've reached the end of our road trip. But remember, the journey doesn't end here. There are countless roads out there, countless stories waiting to be told. So keep your eyes open, your minds open, and most importantly, your doors locked.
And your flashlights charged. You never know when you might need them.
Until next time, stay safe out there. And sweet dreams.